So I've been searching for a monitor that is 32 inches, 4K, not curved, has a 16:9 aspect ratio, is HDR10, has at least 144 Hz, has HDMI 2.1, has a 1 millisecond response time, has at least 95% accuracy of the DCI P3 color space, and is G-Sync and FreeSync compatible. Now, as it turns out, even now in the future, that's a pretty tall order. I was expecting, since I don't need OLED or 240 Hz, that a monitor like this would be a few $100 kind of thing, but nope. As it turns out, 4K with anything over 60 Hz is still pretty spendy. Damn it! It's like falling in love with a new wine, then realizing it's $60 a bottle. Okay, it's not really like that, but you know what I mean? I thought I didn't have expensive tastes, but now that I've finally decided what I need in a monitor, I see that they start around $1,000 Canadian and up. Oof. And before this video, I was getting really excited about OLED. I only started monitor shopping about a month ago and just realized that only right now full 4K 32-inch flat OLED monitors with those fancy specs are like just coming out, and they are expensive. Like this, and this, and this. There was a moment where I was almost considering buying one of those new monitors, but then I realized, what the heck am I thinking? I can't afford that. Plus I still need to buy a video card. So where can I compromise? The answer is with the panel. In a recent video, I talked about how I bought a cheap VA panel with a high refresh rate, and it was terrible. Only then did I realize that my current 32-inch IPS monitor actually still looked fantastic. The only downside with it is that it's 1440p and it only has 75 Hz. Now, to be fair, a 2K monitor with 75 refresh rate is still pretty impressive. But the point is, IPS panels still look dang good. But when I was editing videos and creating my thumbnails, I wanted sharp. And when you sit in front of a massive 32-inch monitor, 1440p does not look sharp. I shoot in 4K with a beautiful lens and I want to appreciate it on my screen. It's weird when you edit and create content in 4K, yet you can't even view it in the quality that you're shooting it on with your display. Anyway, long story long, I found this monitor, the LG UltraGear 32GR93U. It checks all the boxes, and guess what? It's on a huge sale right now. Like, I'm talking monitors of this caliber usually sell for over $1,000 Canadian. Heck, this one usually sells for $1049, but it's on sale right now for $599. And for that price point, it certainly caught my attention. To be honest, at the full price point, I'm not sure I would have bought it. I mean, all the reviews online of this monitor are very positive, and they were all tested at the original price point. But at this sale price point, I mean, damn. So after buying it and using it for a couple weeks, I have to say, it's really good. I love it. It's a Toyota of monitors, you know? It might not wow you right out of the gate, but I have all good things to say. Maybe nothing exceptional about it, but there's nothing bad either. I mean, it's no OLED. The blacks aren't that black, but they're good enough. It doesn't have a really high contrast ratio. It is only HDR 400, which technically counts as HDR 10, even though it's the bare minimum. But when I'm gaming at night, I'm still left staring and admiring the graphics with the buttery smooth frame rate. And the fact that it's at 4K, the colors look bright and punchy, and it's the same during the day. I have it in a bright room and still don't have the brightness maxed or anything. It looks fantastic. Look, I'm no professional when it comes to comparing tech or anything, but I've had quite a lot of screens. I reviewed the 49-inch Samsung G9 Odyssey on my other channel. I've bought and owned this 32-inch Dell, which I'll show you on the screen. I've had multiple M3 and M1 MacBooks, which have great screens. I have an OLED TV in the house. I have all kinds of devices. I mean, I think I have a decent idea of what looks good and what doesn't. And after all of those things, at this current sale price, this is a really good deal. If you're shopping around for a monitor and can get these specs at this price, see, the review ultimately comes down to the price point. And at this price point, since it ticks so many boxes, I don't care as much that it doesn't have an insane contrast ratio, because it still looks great as long as you're not side by side comparing it to an OLED. I don't care that it's only 144 Hz and not 240 Hz, because my goal is to game in 4K, and anyone with a normal budget will have a hard time maxing out 144 Hz at 4K. Right now I'm playing Destiny 2 and getting between 60 to 90 frames per second consistently in 4K with my 2070. I'm also playing Alan Wake, and it just looks fantastic. So I'm not as in a rush to get a video card as I was before, since this setup is working great. Surprisingly, a 20 series is not bad for yesterday's games, even in 4K. And as I mentioned in my last video, it still handles 4K video editing without proxies, not too shabby. I really wanted to buy a 4080 Super right now, but with new cards just around the corner, I just can't spend all that money knowing something at a similar price point will be the next hotness for at least a couple years, you know? I mean, I might not even be able to get that 5080 at release, but at least I'll have a bit more time to save. And I'll still benefit from this monitor in the meantime. Here's some of the bad things about this monitor. Since the screen is so big and flat, the corners look dark when you're staring at it from head on. I'm not sure if the camera will catch this. The corners look like they vignette unless you move your head a little bit. I get why some monitors are curved. Personally, I still like the flat though. Despite that, the viewing angles are good. So this would be fine if you were in a workspace and needed to show multiple people your screen all at once. It's just a little weird that the corners look a little darker. There aren't speakers built in. It's not necessary for me, but sometimes it's nice to have them and not need them, you know? Oh, and the stand doesn't swivel, which is annoying if you don't plan to put it on a different mount. I did put it on a cheap monitor arm, which I talked about in a different video, and it's great. Although I still need to upgrade my desk because it does wobble sometimes when I get crazy with my typing. Oh, and the menus and the color calibration out of the box are, well, they're fine. I feel like I still need to calibrate this, but I don't really trust my eye to do it, you know? If you have any tips on that, let me know in the comments below. I really like the matte screen, and the bezels are nice enough even though it has a thick chin. And I like that the UltraGear logo is black. My last Dell had a shiny silver logo on it and it bothered me. I hate it when companies put their logo in a way that's distracting to the product. This is just fine. It also comes with a built-in LED, which you can change. That's nice. Oh yeah, and let's talk video editing. So this monitor is DCI-P3, 95% coverage. From what I can tell, it's definitely adequate for basic color grading. I mean, heck, it seems like it's adequate for a lot more than that. But for what I do, it's fine. Also, it seems like this panel is 10-bit. Well, it's 8-bit plus FRC, which apparently tricks our brains and allows us to see more colors. It's basically a 10-bit equivalent. With an 8-bit screen, you might see banding where you shouldn't. So with this monitor, it's sharp, it's bright, it has a nice wide color gamut, and editing videos is a treat on it. See, I wanted 16:9 aspect ratio because like I said, I've had the 49-inch super ultra wide monitor, and while it was cool gaming on it, I hated working on it. It was way too wide. You actually don't want a long timeline when you're video editing. I don't anyway. I actually wanted more height. Moving your mouse back and forth too much, it slows you down. Plus, when you screen capture, and I do that a lot with OBS, anything outside of 16:9 is a total pain in the butt because you either have to crop in and miss the top and bottom of the screen, or you're left with these black bars on your footage that you have to cut out. Just never worked. Now, Alienware has a 6 sale on with their 34-inch OLED ultra wide. It's for around $1,000 Canadian, which is tempting. But with OLED comes the risk of burn-in. Also, while Dell has a great 3-year warranty, my bud who bought the first Alienware OLED ultra wide screen when it came out, he's on his 4th panel already. And he has burn-in on his current one after what, like 6 to 12 months? Oof. No thanks. Now he'll be the first to admit that he plays too much Apex Legends, so I guess the health, mana, or whatever clusters just sit there on the screen all day, but to him it's still worth it for that insane response time and colors of the OLED. I think darkroom gaming on them is still just on another level. But for me, while I value high frame rates, I think 144 Hz is more than enough, and I love the fact that I don't have to worry about burn-in, and I get to enjoy the 16:9 aspect ratio at 4K. The IPS colors look punchy, it's nice having HDMI 2.1, and for the price of $5.99 on sale, I don't feel sick to my stomach worrying whether I should buy my kids braces or get myself a good monitor. I'll just get this monitor and some DIY retainers for them. That should work, right? My old LG monitor still works great and gave me confidence that buying a new LG would be a solid investment that should last for years. Sure, the customer service might not be as good as Dell's, but hopefully I won't ever need it. I'm hoping to pair it with a 5080 when it comes out, but for now, with my newly built 14th gen computer and 2070 that I have, I'm really happy with my current setup. And with this build, I think I'm at about 2,400 bucks Canadian before tax, but just FYI, that doesn't include the keyboard, speakers, or mouse, or headset, etc. I was really hoping to get that 4080 Super this summer, then test it out versus my M1 Max, but I just don't think it's a smart investment, so I don't think I'll be able to do those tests. I think I'm gonna sell my M1 Max while I can for as much as I can and go from there. Okay, so the 32-inch UltraGear LG monitor for $600 Canadian feels like a great deal and is an easy recommendation. Sure, it's not OLED, but that's not always a bad thing. OLEDs are usually super glossy and highly reflective, and I actually prefer matte monitors and not having to worry about burn-in. If you are monitor shopping and can still get this deal, double check that it comes with a 30-day return in case for some reason you don't like it, but at this price, I say get it while you can. I'm not sure why they are selling them at this price, but geez, it's the best deal I've found by far. I'm not planning on sending mine back. I just love using it, and my whole computer experience is just, it's become what I hoped that it would be, you know? There's something special about a customized computer area where you've put thought into every component. I just love being here. My monitor is no longer the weak spot in my setup. I'm stoked about that. Come on, NVIDIA, give us some news about your new video cards soon. So what monitor are you rocking? Do you think I made a decent choice for a gaming and video editing monitor? Also, do you know much about video cards? Would you go NVIDIA for the drivers and ray tracing, etc., or do you think the extra VRAM on the AMD cards is more important for video editing, etc.? I sure wish I could buy them both and test the crap out of them. Maybe one day. All right, that's it for today. If you liked the video, please click the thumbs up button as it's the only way for smaller channels like mine to grow. And if you loved it, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to have you. In case you missed my last video, you can watch that here. Otherwise, here's what YouTube thinks you'd like to watch next. Also, if you want to see what I thought of the 165 Hz VA panel versus an IPS one, you can see that here. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the SAD Studio.